So good afternoon and thank you for joining us for the latest in our series of Lights, Pixels, Insights. Today we're going to be talking about trailblazing drone technology. I'm joined by Trevor Nicol, Pixel Artworks, qualified commercial drone operator, and Claire Kimber from Posterscope. So thanks for joining us today, guys. For those of you watching for the first time, just a note, you're watching this through our hybrid streaming platform, Extend. We'll have probably taken control of the camera by now, so you might feel yourself being moved around the virtual stage. And we'll remove the various targets so that you can focus on the main screen. If you've got a question, there's a small question tab at the bottom of the screen. So tap something in there, send anything you like. If you want to like a bit of content, click the thumbs up. If you see other thumbs appearing on the screen, that's other people liking the content. And then the little square on the home bar at the bottom there should send you full screen. So let's move on to today's content. Drones 2.0. I think just to give this a tiny bit of context, if we wind back to April, we were hosting our internal innovation sessions at Pixel Artworks, and we were looking for technologies and techniques that might be better suited towards today's evolving new normal. Obviously, we've been long interested in drone shows and drone technology, and we saw it as an area of rapid advancement. But of course, it's yet to come to the skies above London, and we saw creative possibilities that I think other people hadn't explored. So that was the start of the 6-month journey that has got us to where we've got to today. And today we're going to look at this story as to how we got here. So firstly, quick 3 things on why we love drones. Well, firstly, because they're pixels. We love pixels. These are flying pixels of light. Secondly, the 3D workflow. Creation of great drone content is all about complex 3D workflows and getting the studio's content to tie up with the technical production on site, which is what we do best. And then, of course, compared to fireworks, they're a very sustainable or eco-friendly approach. And of course, all of this wrapped in this big bubble or balloon that they just look awesome on camera and broadcast. So they're great for creating content for today's digital audiences. So we did a lot of research on past drone shows, and actually we've got some work which has been released really recently. So Trevor's going to take us through some of our favourite inspiration on drone shows from across the world.
Yeah, so I've got 4 examples which I'd like to show today of our favourite and individually very different examples of drone shows which have come to market in the last few years. So the first one, we may as well start with the biggest. This is the Guinness World Record for the number of simultaneous UAVs flown at any one time. This was won on the 20th of September by Chinese drone manufacturer Demoda. They broke the previous Russian-held world record of 2,200 UAVs in the air just 25 days after they won the title. What you're looking at now is 3,051 UAVs in the air. And aside from the sheer number of UAVs we can see in the air at the moment, what's really impressive for me about this is the communications and how they've managed to achieve communication to each of these drones in such a huge volume. Very complicated stuff there.
Yeah. And it's hard not to love the scale of what they've taken on there. I mean, that must have been visible for, I don't know how many miles around. And also, there's a little clip somewhere near the beginning where you can see they've started to experiment with some slightly cooler kind of filming, photography, camera techniques. I think it's the Little World technique, is it, with the spherical 3D lens?
Through the drones.
So I just love how they're sort of starting to think about how we push the filming of these experiences further than the live experience.
So next up, quite a different example. This is Odessa, which is live at Coachella back in 2018. I'm going to let this one build. So there we have it, 420 drones in the air, beautifully integrated with the video content, the lighting and audio of this performance. I absolutely love how the content flows off the screens on stage up into the air, extending that canvas beyond what is expected. A perfect example really of tight integration of entertainment technology and creativity. Now we're starting to form more defined geometric shapes. Those drones. So there we have it, Coachella Live. Claire, what did you think about that one?
Well, it's just quite breathtaking. It's pure visual spectacle, and I think what's really interesting about it is the way that they've used the context. Right, you're already in a really excited atmosphere, so to be able to then elevate that even higher, sort of mirroring the way that music works, so building up to a crescendo, and then suddenly the show extends up into the sky. It would definitely be a jaw dropper if you were on the spot there.
I wish I was there.
Yeah,
It looks amazing.
Those old days when you could be with other humans.
Yes. Moving on to the next one is activation done by Telekom, T-Mobile in Germany. This is to promote 5G connectivity. So we're looking at 300 drones this time, taken to the skies to form very clear content, this time in the form of text. It's big, it's bold, it's totally Instagrammable. What do we think about this?
Well, I think, as you mentioned, Trev, this is this shows the sort of the classic way as to how to write in the skies with drones, form words or shapes and objects. Obviously, that's the technology and the innovation that we've been working on specifically. Is that how do we join those dots to create more complex shapes and images? But for that in its own right, it's a very nice, clean example as to how you form the skies. Yeah.
And then our final example is from the Netherlands. It was a performance in Rotterdam to celebrate the 75th anniversary of Liberation Day. It has a performance by Joep Beving, and it's curated by Studio Drift. Of the water and the reflection of the drones, I think it's magical. Claire, what did you think of it?
I agree. I absolutely loved it. I think you will absolutely argue about the technicalities of this, but it just appeared so simple.
That's the beauty of it.
It was just beautiful, and I think the accompaniment of a really simple soundtrack, the framing of the cityscape, just adds to that epic kind of nature of the event that they're trying to convey. And I think the emotive nature of it is just spectacular.
I think there's something so nice, isn't there, about the heart volumetrically?
Yes.
Not every campaign or activation is going to have something which sort of sits so well within that sort of 3D volume, but you get these lovely shots with the camera moving around, and you can see that it's not just the plainer text that was displayed in the last one. It really is a 3D volume.
It's
in
iconic.
The sky. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to have a quick look at three key challenges of drone displays in the UK. So first up, we've got challenges around locations, particularly central London locations. Then we've got CAA protocols, or an absence of CAA protocols for swarming drones. And then we've got the UK weather. We'd certainly heard questions before about how well drones performed in the UK weather. So we actually picked a rather wild and windy weekend for our test trials that we're about to share in a minute. So we'll move on to the brief. As always, I guess doing what's been done before is never quite far enough. We wanted to push the boundaries in some way. We wanted to take the technology further and do something with creative that hadn't been explored before. So we set a simple creative brief, which was to break the creative boundaries in drone technology. And then to layer on top of that, behind the scenes, we've been working on exclusive locations with central London skylines, expanding our knowledge of airspace regulations and approvals, and then also working on permissions in principle from the CAA on swarming drones. So in the background, we got to work. So we started off in concept development. We just started imagining what we could do with painting with light in the skies, using the latest in filming and real-time or augmented reality content capabilities. And so we started by drawing out some ideas as to what these might look like. Could we write the phrase, "we paint with light"? Could we draw a caricature of someone's face? How long would it take to draw a 15 in the sky? And here we're experimenting with different drone manufacturers, different speeds, etc. So then we move on to detailed design, where we've selected our 6 core concepts that we want to move forward. And here we're going well beyond just storyboarding what those movements, etc. would be. We're moving into the real nitty-gritty of the technical detail as to how this comes alive. How fast will that drone fly? How fast will it fly in this wind condition? How far can it paint that path of light through the sky? And then all of the time playing this game, and Trev mentioned innovations in drone technology at the beginning. It's this whole relationship between the drone flight time and therefore what you can do with it in the sky when it's got to permission and then safely back to base again. So all of that being wrapped up in our detailed design. And then, Trev.
Yeah, and above that is above the technical capabilities of the drones themselves and the creative content is, of course, the location-based technicalities. Things like CAA permissions, which are different for different areas of airspace, calculating the safe volumes to which you can fly within for the show, notifying airmen and women of what activities you're doing, and also the test flights that we performed in a sterile airspace at an aerodrome in order to ensure that what we were taking to a central location was ultimately going to work and safe.
So then we moved into creative production. I think the studio's produced over 100 different pieces of test content. Of the 6 key concepts that we chose, we were trying them all in variations of size, speed, thickness of the line stroke. Was it painted with one drone or multiple drones? You can see that on the screen here with the RGB of the with light at the bottom. So once all the content had been created, we took our flying pixels a few weeks ago, as I mentioned, on a wet and windy night. And this little video shows you a little glimpse as to some of the content we're going to see in the video coming up next. So finally, we move on to technical production. And as Trev mentioned, this video is actually shot in 2 different locations. We've got one location at an airfield out of town where we did swarming tests, wet weather tests, and general health and safety around the drone swarm and the control of the drones. And then most of the footage you're going to see is from our central London location. And thanks to the Royal Greenwich Museum for their support in this innovation project with us. And here, if we have a look at that skyline, we can see that we've got a number of cameras set up there. We're looking at long exposure photography. We're looking at using real-time capture and specific light painting software. And then we're looking at AR overlays on a broadcast feed. And what you're going to see is a mixture of those technologies and techniques. And I think what's super interesting for us is that the result of this testing, apart from this 90-second clip, is a very rich library of tests, successes, failures, and so importantly, a clear set of rules as to how far we can push this technique creatively, and just knowing the limits of what's possible and what's not. So let's watch the video. So there we can see in the public domain for the first time just now is our innovation in drone technology, drone painting or painting with light in the sky. We've also let you see quite a lot behind the scenes in that video in terms of the complex 3D workflows and how we've built those, what were initial concepts, into 3D ideas, volumes, and then they've translated into drone shows. So, Claire, what do you think about the new drone painting?
Well, I think it's wonderful. I think that the very nature of being able to appeal to that very human sense of being stimulated by the visual and the epic, I struggle to think of anything else that really does that in this sort of way. Certainly not in a way that is so magical and allows it to be not only memorable but also shareable, which is of huge value, of course, in the world we're in right now. And I think that the limitless scope that it supplies is something really, really exciting.
Obviously, we're super excited about our work in the skies to come. Trev, based on the last 6 months of your labour of love, can you tell us a bit of insight into why there haven't been so many swarming drone shows in the UK?
Yeah, there's two things. One is the technology. It's only very recently that we now have the types of battery life and reliability of drones and the communication systems behind them to actually achieve so many drones in the air at one time. And the second, which is probably the more key thing, is I think people don't know where to start. Mm-hmm. People are very, very used to creating an event on the ground, in a venue, at a place you can hire. But then when you're taking it to the sky, it's a completely different ballgame in terms of permissions and what you can and can't do. And there has to be a real knowledge around that and permissions in place to allow you to do it.
Yeah, I know. It's you make it sound rather easy. I know the journey's been rather long. And so I guess what is exciting for you about drone technology now?
Everything.
What's not to be excited about?
That it's such a new medium, a new canvas to play in. I think that element of visual spectacle is a huge opportunity and lends itself to myriad opportunities for brands to start engaging in this space and communicating in a completely new way. Having the sky as your template is just an incredible concept.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we are going to finish by looking at 4 different markets that we've identified for drone shows. So obviously, festivals, it's not been a good summer for them this summer. We're hoping for a big summer next summer. What's cool about festivals and drone shows?
For me, it's the unexpected. Everybody sees the confetti cannon coming now. That's just it. You know it's about to happen. It's great when it does happen, but it's expected. Who is going to expect drones to fly out the sky and expand that canvas of what you're used to looking at in terms of the stage? The large screens have now become part of a standard canvas of a festival. Yeah. Now we're taking it even further, taking it to the skies, and I think it's fab.
And also, I mean, if we discount the kind of town centre or city-based festivals, in the main, we're talking about spaces with a large amount of safe flying zone around them. So
loads of space.
Huge swarms are possible. So then we have national celebrations. Now, I guess for me, some of the, at least the original Chinese drone show work fed into that national celebration category. I've definitely seen drones with pyrotechnics and fireworks hung off the bottom of them in the UAE. I'm not sure the UK CAA are ready for an application of that quite yet, but definitely big potential in national celebrations as and when they come. So next we've got skylines. Claire, appetite for skyline takeovers, where do you see that going?
I think with the referencing back to the Netherlands example, where we saw that as the framing of that was this beautiful cityscape. And cityscapes are iconic, right? Visually, they're so epic. for a brand to be able to own that space above that visual is just, for me, the ultimate brand moment. So for me, Skyline takeovers, along with coupling that with other technologies that you can use to augment that template, again, it's wildly exciting, and the creative opportunities are endless.
And then our final example is obviously sporting events. Again, 2020 not been a good year for big public gatherings at sporting events, but we look forward to a brighter 2021. Obviously, super cool potential here, halftime shows, nighttime Formula One circuits. I think the sort of the possibility at sporting events, or at least the sort of the launch parties at the end of sporting events is pretty much endless. But I guess from a brand value perspective, Claire, where would you see most brand value out of those 4 markets?
In the current times, it's the Skylines for me. But of course, with normality resuming, all 4 of those spaces have got huge potential opportunities.
Yeah. Great. Okay, guys. Well, that is the end of Lights, Pixels, Insights for today. Thank you for joining us, Trev and Claire. Guys, you're probably going to see the camera pull back in the virtual stage. There'll be a little target that pops up on the right-hand side saying Visit Showroom. If you just click Send there, you can come and join us in this space and explore more innovations in light and pixel technology. So until next month, from us, good afternoon.